Hi, folks. Welcome to Crisco's Corner. Unfiltered commentary. Not your truth, the real truth. Please like, share, and subscribe. And as always, thank you for your support. Welcome back. I'm going to continue on a little bit talking about this country, the 4th of July, and Gettysburg. Gettysburg was fought in the 1st, 2nd, 3rd of July in 1863. And this is one of the graveyards from it. Over 51,000 casualties, all Americans, in 3 days. And that's the problem when you see big numbers like this, over 650,000 dead in the Civil War. When you see numbers like almost 1 million wounded, maimed, arm and legs missing, bodies shattered, minds shattered. Those kind of numbers are so staggering you can't put them into context. If there's a fire in your local town and 3 family members are killed, you can really, really relate to that. But when you say that 51,000 men were killed or wounded in a 3-day period, that number just doesn't stick with you. And I found this quote from Abraham Lincoln once, I'm going to say at the end. There's a lot of talk about how evil this country is and all the horrible things we've done. We've done some amazing things as well. When was the last time that a modern civilization, which the United States was and still is, a modern civilization went to war with itself? Not totally, but at least for the most part, about setting other people free. Think about when the last time that's happened. And in my looking up and inspections and research, I can't find anybody, or anywhere I should say, that this has occurred in modern times, or even ancient times for that matter, at this scale of carnage and destruction. Started out as states' rights, which I understand completely, being a conservative. And the carnage escalated so much that it had to be more than just union. And Lincoln knew that. And I don't think he just changed the reason for the war out of political gain. I think he had to show the people that this was about something much bigger. Something that justifies the death and destruction. Now, those of today, we want reparations, and all white people are evil, and blah, 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 blah. I think you should think about this for a minute because it doesn't fit your political agenda. The Civil War was the biggest tragedy to ever hit the United States. Ever. By far. There's nothing even close. And God willing, there never will be. I think that debt's been paid. And I want you to think about this for a minute. You see the gravestones here. Look at the first one in the front, right in the center. The dark one there in the front. Just focus on that stone. That was a man. Probably a young man. 20, 21, 22. That was somebody's son. That was somebody's brother. That was somebody's husband. That was somebody's father. That was somebody's neighbor. That was somebody you grew up with. That was a person who gave up their life to preserve the Union and end slavery in the United States for all time. Just concentrate on that one stone in the front. And think about that. Wish I had the person's name. I don't. As you see the pictures in my other video of the dead in the battlefields. They weren't a 51,000 killed, captured, or wounded. Just the one guy in the front. Just the one young man. Life is gone. Potential for God knows what greatness snuffed out. Did he willingly give up his life? And go to the next stone and think the same thing. Concentrate on that one stone only and the next one and so on and so on. And you'll realize that they were all individual people. They were all Americans. Now there's many right now that are saying the conservative states, they want to secede from the Union. They're just like the Confederates and they're the evil monsters. No, not at all. It's oranges and apples. It's not the same. I don't really believe that the average citizen in the South, the everyday man and woman, voted for representatives that voted to leave the Union were doing it to preserve the institution of slavery. Frankly, I don't believe it. Because 98% didn't own any slaves. And in fact, as the war started, slavery was holding back industry in the South. It was an economic drain. And frankly, I think they didn't know what to do. How does that go? You have a tiger by the tail. You don't want to hold on, but you don't dare let go. And so the people in Washington kicked the issue of slavery, kicked the can down the road for decades, throughout almost the entire 1800s, until it came to a head with the election of Lincoln. And then all hell broke loose. Frankly, I didn't think they knew what to do, how to get out of it. How do you get out of it when you have hundreds of thousands of people in slavery in your states? And 98% of the people have nothing to do with slavery, either directly or indirectly. What do you do? How do you get out of it? It was a conundrum. And that conundrum cost them their entire civilization. It was incredible miscalculation on the southern states' parts. In fact, even the leaders in the South, including Jefferson Davis, who was a racist, no question, but they didn't want to leave the Union. They were in tears. Everybody says, oh, everybody's Jubilee. We're going to leave. We're going to leave. No, not really. State of Tennessee, where I just visited for a week, they were split right down the middle. They had no clue what was coming. If they could even comprehend the carnage that was coming, I think they would have not done what they did. But it was an incredible blunder. It was a huge miscalculation. Was the federal government being overbearing to the southern states? Probably not in the sense that we see it today with the overregulation and the taxes. They just saw government as, get out of my face. We want to live the way we want to live. And that somehow just escalated and it went out of control. Cooler heads did not prevail. I think because of the fact that politicians in Washington at the time kicked the can down the road on the issue of slavery. And those of you who think that America was always slave states, in 1777, the state of Vermont outlawed slavery. That was before the country was even formed. So this was an issue. It was the elephant in the room for a very long time. So now comes the price to pay. The southern states seceded. The war began. I mean, the Battle of Gettysburg by itself was the biggest battle in the Western Hemisphere. Those of you who don't know what that is, that's North America, Central America, and South America. All of it. There's not even a close second. It was a tremendous price to pay for the North in trying to preserve the Union. I think they were paying some of the penalty, we'll call it, for kicking the can down the road for so long. And in the southern states, the huge miscalculation of trying to secede from the Union. Everybody blundered. Everybody screwed up. And once it started, it was like rolling a boulder down a hill. It couldn't stop it. And the price was over 650,000 dead and over 1 million mentally and physically damaged for the rest of their lives. So when we talk about reparations, we talk about how evil the United States is. Both sides thought they were right. Both sides thought God was on their side. But I think in the end, as the country came together and the South was set back over a century economically, we're starting to see a change. And that change is the racist South, the racist people that ran the South. Over time, hearts and minds were changed. The southern states in the United States now, their economies are booming, even during a pandemic. And they have been since basically the late 70s. And they've escalated. And they're now the states, what they call red states in the South. They are an economic wonder. They are the states with the most freedom, the best economic opportunities for people, and just living in general, everyday living, interacting with people, not rules and regulations to death like everything else in the blue states. So they have come around, and now they are the shining example of what America was supposed to be. Opportunity for all, but no guarantee. But the price had to be paid. And this is what Lincoln said. I believe this was during his second inaugural, just prior to his death. And I'll leave you with this quote, and you can think about the past, the years since the Civil War, the years through Jim Crow in the South, and what the South is like now. And now, things have changed dramatically. I believe the blue states are the racist states. And the former Confederacy is now the most open and diverse and freest states in the country. Funny how things come around. But this is what Lincoln said. Kicking a can down the road, basically, is my opinion, as to why this price had to be paid. Because our representatives in Washington at that time, as well as now, will not face realities. They're so busy bickering with each other. In this case, it almost destroyed the country. We're getting to that point now. Will there be a shooting war like this one? No. But there's going to be an economic war. Some states might try to secede or just ignore the federal government altogether. We'll have to see how that works out. But this is what Lincoln said, and I want you to think about it. In the second inauguration, the war was just winding down. The South was in shambles. The country was in shambles. The U.S. government was in tons of debt. Sound familiar? I mean, half the economy of the United States, or half the land mass, was just destroyed. And it took over a century for the South to come back, and they did. Because they are right-minded. They are freedom-loving people. In my experience now, as I travel through the South, and I have another leg to go. They are the freest, the most diverse, the kindest, the most respectful, and the most hardworking of any sections of the United States. They've come around to the founders' goals and dreams. As much as can be done in an imperfect world with imperfect people. So that's just my opinion. But this is what Lincoln said concerning the cost. Was the cost worth it? I think it was. But it was a hell of a price to pay. Over 600,000 dead people. God knows how many inventors, how many poets, how many painters, how many beautiful orators, how many descendants could have been huge software giants and computer technicians and just geniuses in general, that all the inventions that weren't invented because their descendants weren't around to do it. Think about that for a minute. All to set men free and reunite the country. And this is what Lincoln said at his second inaugural. Finally do we hope, fervently do we pray, that this mighty scourge of war may speedily pass away. Yet if God wills that it continue until every drop of blood drawn by the lash shall be paid by another drawn by the sword. So still it must be said, the judgments of the Lord are true and righteous altogether. Until next time, folks, goodbye and good luck.